Hello, everyone. This is the Spitball Sports Show, episode 2, week 4 of the NFL season. We are your hosts, Brian and Jacob. Thank you for joining us. Now, week 4 brought a lot of really good games, to be honest with you. A couple ups and downs, a couple underdogs that actually came on top. So, Jacob, what do you think of week 4?
I thought there was a couple upsets, a couple big games, a couple games that went as expected,
Mhm.
um, but some other ones that didn't go quite as well. One that kind of surprised me leading into our recap: Packers and Lions Thursday night football. What did you think about the Lions' performance there? I know you had them picked to win. They did.
Yeah.
How did you feel like it went for you?
So, yeah, so that game, Lions ended up beating the Packers 34-20 at home. So far, it looks like the Lions are the team to beat in that conference. Looked really good. Lions defense was absolutely insane that first half. I think they have about 5 sacks and 2 interceptions. So they were just absolutely putting on the performance. The Fortunately, the Packers could not do anything that first half, and it did not look great for them.
Yeah, the Packers had some issues. Lions dominated Packers at Lambeau again. One of the reasons that I favored the Packers
Mhm.
was Jordan Love's performance going into it, and he failed to deliver. Um, Aaron Jones as well. He was not 100% from his injury. I was banking on him to do well, and he did not. He's not 100% back yet, and it showed.
Yeah,
Uh, I mean,
unfortunately, I had him on my fantasy, and he just did nothing for me. Absolutely
no,
nothing.
no. I won't even say underutilized because his yards per carry were not anywhere
Right.
near what they were prior to the injury.
Mm-mm.
But I mean, it's not just on him and Jordan Love. The line was not good. The offensive line was not good. Special teams had problems. Defense could not find an answer to stop the run.
Yeah.
Um, Packers have a lot of work to do, man. And like you said, Lions are one of the teams to beat right now. Definitely in the division, leading the way. Coming
Ye-
into the season, I had them picked to make the playoffs.
mhm.
The bid for the postseason for them is looking pretty good right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'd say so. I
What was,
definitely that first half, I think the Lions were up 27-3. It just looked like it was gonna be an absolutely shutout game for them.
yeah,
I know you had the Packers pegged to win. They did come up back to life a little bit near the second half. Jordan Love did step it up a little bit. I believe Christian Watson also had a touchdown. It was his first game back, so
yeah,
they might just be a little bit rusty, just trying to get that rust off. Obviously, Aaron Jones coming back from injury as well wasn't a great thing, but like you said, that at the end of the line, at the end of the day, that offensive line just did not held up to the Lions defense.
and no, it did not. And I mean, when it did, Love was consistently overthrowing or underthrowing. Uh, just not good play from him. I'm sure he'll do better. I mean, this is his first year as a starter, right? Like we talked
Right.
about last week. So I think they'll be coming up from the bottom here. Lions though, man, gotta love it. It's a
Dude,
it's a good story with them, man. I am liking it.
they were definitely a favorite of mine after watching them on Hard Knocks. Just Dan Campbell from the top to the bottom. That head coach, he just knows how to fire up his guys, and he does the job. They do it well. They're not the same old Lions that we're used to. We feel like we might keep saying that throughout the season. Not the same old Lions, and they're just going to continue to just perform and show why they're different.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see them in the postseason. I'm pretty confident in that happening. They'll probably take their division at this pace. The Vikings they're a good team, but you can't compare it. The Lions are just way ahead. Packers, Bears. I see them taking their division pretty comfortably.
Right, and the Lions have only just gotten better. Their run game is absolutely insane. Montgomery, I believe, had 3 touchdowns. Like he's just absolutely showing why he's running back number one. Now it's a little crazy that they drafted Gibbs in the first round. He's super underutilized. I know he's kind of a question in fantasy right now. Why did they draft him in the first round if they're barely giving him any touches? It doesn't make sense. I feel like they might be holding him off for the later the season. Maybe they're just keeping Montgomery there. Let everyone know, okay, Montgomery's running back number one. He's the one we got to focus on. And then maybe near the end of the season, Gibbs is going to start having a pretty good showing when everyone's focused on Montgomery and maybe have forgotten about Gibbs.
I think so. I think you're right there. They're just saving him for the rest of the season. But it is a nice duo that they have.
Yeah,
It's they set themselves up quite well for the run game.
yeah. And let's see, next game we'd like to talk about the Dolphins versus the Bills.
Yeah,
Now, the Bills absolutely dominated the Dolphins. They showed why they're one of the top teams. It seemed to be like they're in great form right now. They're firing at all cylinders. I know they had a couple mishaps here and there, but this seems starting to look like the Bills of that we're used to. You know?
absolutely. Uh, I mean, I had picked the Dolphins to win the game going into
Mhm.
it. This was a bit of a pleasant surprise for me
Yeah,
because the Bills, they've had a kind of rough start to the season. They haven't been looking like themselves. Um, they show that they can compete with the best and win from
yeah,
this game. So I'm pretty cool with it. I mean, they play again later this season. Don't
mhm,
know exactly when, but that will be a nice rematch.
definitely. And I mean, their defense really is what came to show at the end of this game. Like the Dolphins at this point were the highest scoring team to be. Like Tyreek Hill was almost unstoppable. A Chain, Mostert, everyone, they were just all rolling fire on all cylinders. But what really held up was this Bills defense.
Definitely, definitely a lot of props going towards that, bottling up Tua and the Dolphins' run game. Man, they did a
Oh,
good job of that.
yeah.
We'll see how the Dolphins rally and come back next week playing the Giants. I'm sure that'll be a nice bounce back for them.
I'm sure
We'll
that'll
get
be the,
we'll get into the Giants a little bit later
a little
too.
bit
Trust me.
later. Oh man. Well, one thing I really liked about that game was Stephon Diggs. He looked like he's finally has that chemistry again going with Allen. Like I know there was some controversy near the end of the season. It seemed like he might not be coming back. A little bit drama here and there. He might be going to a third team after leaving the Vikings. So
Yep.
they seem to be connecting. I think he had about 3 touchdowns, 120 yards. So he was just absolutely destroying. And then also Gabe Davis, like he had another touchdown again. He's had one touchdown in each of the last 3 games. So he might be Mr. Old Reliable. He might be the team person to anytime bet at this point for a touchdown. He's showing pretty consistent.
Definitely. It's if you're a Bills fan, it's pretty reassuring to see them firing on all cylinders. Uh, with the drama, like you had mentioned, coming into the
Yeah.
season, some question marks. I mean, I thought that it was a potential for Diggs to go to the Giants because he was not getting along with the team. It's kind of hoping for it,
Yeah.
but that's all right. A New York team won this week, so that's all right.
There
I'm
you
okay
go.
with it.
What game you got next for me?
I got the Cardinals and the 49ers. This is one I kind of wanted to touch on. Let me talk a little bit about my observations from it. I mean, Cardinals lost. It wasn't a surprise to anyone,
Mhm.
but they showed some heart and some fight again. In the end, Niners are just too much of a powerhouse team. Offense firing, defense firing. They're just the most solid team. They're the best team in the NFL right now.
Yeah,
Hard to
definitely.
find
Like
any chinks in their armor.
no, they look like the most complete team right now from offense to defense. They're just not showing any stopping at this point. They're an absolute juggernaut. Christian McCaffrey, oh my god, that
Yep.
guy can just do absolutely everything. I don't know why he's not in the top 3, top 5 for the MVP race. Like he's pretty much the consistent scorer for the 49ers. He's the reason that they've had a lot of success offensively. There's just no stopping them. Like I
There's
don't know what teams can do.
there's not, and he's one of the persons I wanted to talk about for this. It's
Mhm,
actually one of the negative takeaways that I have
mhm,
for the Niners is the overuse of Christian McCaffrey. I
mhm.
mean, when you're up by 12 points in the fourth quarter, it's time to start giving the ball to some of your other running backs. Like, he is the best running back in the league right now. It makes
Yeah,
sense that they're using him as much as they are. But then you start thinking about his longevity this season. how important he'll be in the postseason. It's pretty clear that they're going to make it to the postseason, probably make a deep postseason run. I mean, they can't afford to let him go down with an injury this early on a run that doesn't matter. You know, having him pound the ball, like I said, up 12 in the fourth. There's no reason for that. Like, let him take a rest.
Yeah, he definitely should have been at least pulled out near the end of the fourth quarter. He's had a injury history in the past with the Panthers, so I could definitely see your reasoning why he should be taken out. I completely agree. Not sure why they decided to keep him in, but I mean, it was pretty exciting for us NFL fans seeing him just absolutely destroy and just go off. And then someone I want to talk about is Purdy, Brock Purdy. He went 20 for 21 against the Cardinals. He only missed one throw. A lot of people give him some critique him just because they feel like he was just a plug-in quarterback, a system quarterback. But I think he's starting to show that he's the real deal. He like I know they say any quarterback can be thrown into this team and have a success, which is probably largely true. But he's got some great chemistry with the team. I just don't see why he's not going to be the main guy.
Yeah, he's definitely number one. That's pretty clear. He's accurate, and I mean, detractors, yeah, they'll say that you could plug anybody in, but he's doing exactly what he's asked to do. He's
Hmm.
making the plays that he's supposed to. I mean, they're mostly shorter passes. They're running the ball a lot. They know exactly what they're doing. He's sticking with the game plan that they need moving forward. I mean, it's everything is running as it should. Like, you know,
Yeah,
all the cogs are turning. Everything is clicking for that offense. I mean, he fits perfect in there.
yeah.
So I
You
don't
couldn't
I
ask
don't
for a
see any.
better quarterback for this system.
Definitely not. I think it was a good decision. I felt a little bit um, unsure at first when
Hmm.
they got rid of Garoppolo and Trey Lance after investing so much into Trey
Right.
Lance. But I think it was the right decision.
Yeah, what a story too, from Mr. Irrelevant to potential Super Bowl champion. Like I don't think we've ever had that in the history of the NFL. And if he continues the way they are, if the 49ers continue the way they are and continue to dominate and possibly win one or two, three championships with them, he could definitely be a potential great quarterback and maybe Hall of Famer. It's like I'm just gonna throw that out there. Who knows? Who knows what we can hear from Brock Purdy?
Yes, who knows? Who knows what can happen with him? I mean, I think they probably would have made it to the Super Bowl last year and very well could have won it
Mm.
if he didn't have that injury.
Uh, I'll disagree with that just because the Eagles were so dominant that game. But no, they definitely would have been a lot closer than it was before. Before that injury, it was looking pretty good for the 49ers. But yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, to each their own opinion.
I mean, we are unfiltered, unopinionated, or unbiased, partially. So we
Right.
talk about
Partially
our teams
unbiased.
partially unbiased.
Yeah, partially is kind of showing right now for you, but that's okay. That's okay.
Well, let's carry on. Let's continue on to the next game. Chiefs versus Jets was the primetime Sunday game. What
Yeah.
an absolute showing. Now, I don't think anyone expected this game to go the way it did or to be as close as it did. Obviously, lots of eyes on this game. Taylor Swift was at the show or at the game. She, whether you like her or not, you got to respect, the amount of viewership that she's bringing to this, the amount of eyes that are coming up into this game, and just a lot of growth. So it's definitely a great game, surprising game for me. What would you think?
I guess I couldn't care less about Taylor Swift and at this point Travis Kelsey. It's just kind of getting aggravating. That's all we're hearing about right now.
Hmm.
But I would like to talk about the actual game that happened. Jets defense looks good.
Yeah.
Zach Wilson is coming into his own. He played some good football. He's making great passes, good decision making. I mean, in the end, the Chiefs pulled off the win with some controversy
Mm,
around the officiating,
yeah.
as it goes with the Chiefs.
Don't remind me those. Their friendly referees helped them out on that one. I'd say nothing that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, yeah, on prime time.
Thanks.
You're
Thanks for
welcome.
reminding me.
I mean, speaking about that, I mean, Wilson played against the reigning Super Bowl champs,
Yeah.
and he played well. I think that's something that the Jets fans should be pretty happy about.
He definitely was a better quarterback in that showing. He just his name's been dragged through the mud so many times.
Yeah,
He's definitely was getting crapped on by pretty much every major media. Everyone was just saying that this guy's got to go, and he showed a lot of heart going out there and competing with the Super Bowl reigning team, and almost pulled a victory. I feel like they might have gotten that win if it wasn't that little mental mistake, that fumble with a snap. Maybe his eyes weren't there. He was getting kind of excited. Primetime game might potentially be Patrick Mahomes, but it's just a simple mistake. He probably won't happen again. He showed a lot of growth, and accountability, saying that it was his fault. It's definitely not the same Wilson that we saw last year, where he just wasn't doing any of that. So definitely feel like Aaron Rodgers was a good addition to the team, even if he's not going out there playing. Maybe what his teachings, his spirit, his old man wiseness has rubbed off a little bit on Wilson, showing that accountability and that growth, and it's just hopefully they continue to get better and just show that they are definitely a good team.
couldn't have said it better myself. Couldn't have said it better myself. I'm excited to see how the Jet season goes. I mean, I'll get into my Giants here in a second, but I mean, it is a New York team that I'm pretty happy with. That's doing well, along with the
Right.
Bills. So I'm cool with it.
Now a little bit of heartbreak at the end. Unfortunately, Patrick Mahomes. Uh, he had a great run last play, and he decided to just go out of bounds instead of run the ball in for a touchdown. Now I had the Chiefs winning -5.5, and unfortunately, he did not cover. And I feel like a lot of just sports bettors as well were heartbroken from that. He was right there. I get it; it's a smart play. Just run out of bounds and just end the game, especially when you're already up. But he just should have run it in for the touchdown, man. That was so heartbreaking to see. You should have just heard my reaction. I was just so pissed. Like he was there. He was going to score the touchdown.
Yep.
Failed to cover. Failed to
Yeah,
cover.
failed to cover, but I mean, in an aspect of looking at it from a gameplay perspective, it's definitely the right call.
Hmm.
So it's hard to be mad at him for that.
Yeah, I know that's the risk you take when you're gambling. That's the risk everyone takes. It's hard to not think about those uh, ideas, or that people say that Vegas makes the call and they decide to just keep the sports books happy. But at the end of the day, Chiefs won the game. They did what they had to do. Some little controversy, but see, that's what we usually get when you play the Chiefs.
Yes, seems every game there's some controversy.
Hmm.
Um, Kind of talking about a little bit of controversy. Eagles and Commanders.
Mm.
That was a close game for you guys. How did you feel
That
about it?
that was I knew it was going to be like that. I think when we last spoke, it just something about the Commanders, man. Something about these damn Commanders. They know how to play the Eagles. They know how to find ways to score and win. They were the reason that the Eagles got their first loss last season. It was almost going to be a perfect record. Now, it was definitely a great game for Jalen Hurts. He did what Jalen Hurts finally does, and he showed a little bit of the spark that he had last year. The Commanders played really well. I just rewatching that game. It was definitely an exciting game, back and forth. I feel like the Eagles probably should have not had it that close, but it's a division rival game. It's gonna be that. It's gonna be that kind of closeness.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you would hope that division rival would be a close game. Like the Giants and Cowboys week 1 prime time. It did not go that
Uh,
way.
no, definitely not. But I mean, at the end of the day, we had some stars show up. Jake Elliott, who I just picked up on my fantasy, Mr. Clutch, big moments. He had game-winning field goal, and thank God, dude. I could not. I don't think I could have shown my face if we lost to the Commanders again.
Commanders are
No.
looking like a decent team, man. I mean,
Hmm.
Terry McLaurin, I have him in my fantasy
Hmm.
team. He was going off. He was balling out.
Yeah.
He was one of
Yeah.
my top performers.
They find ways to just exploit the holes that the Eagles defense have. I don't know if it's when they're playing zone, they know exactly where to throw it. Even the run game, Sam or Howell, he had a couple of really big rushes that were super clutch. I think he rushed for about 40 yards on the really solid Eagles defense. So that was just one of those things that just the Commanders or the Eagles kryptonite. Hopefully, not a lot of other teams catch up on this and see how you can beat the Eagles, but at the end of the day, the Eagles came up on top and got the victory, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, and a lot of it's the coaching. I feel like most of the Eagles games this season have come down pretty close to the wire. But your coach, man, he does a good job pulling it off, making sure you
Yeah,
guys see it through.
yeah, it's a little bit of a bittersweet story. Obviously, when you go to the Super Bowl, you tend to lose most of your coaches. We lost our offensive coach and defensive coach, so they got Brian Johnson calling the plays now. He's the offensive coordinator. He does have some history with the Eagles. He was the quarterbacks coach, so he's got some rapport with Hurts, so they know each other really well. Yeah, he's had some questionable calls. I feel like they're starting to work things out. What's good is that they're winning. Unfortunately, they're not winning the way they should be, or at least that we feel that they should be as Eagles fans. We expect a lot from our team, and that I mean, it's hard to argue with them winning 4-0, but it's just they need to work out some kinks and to get it sorted out. I'm confident that they will. They're just going to continue to be one of the top three teams in the NFL and hopefully get that Super Bowl ring this year.
Yeah, I think that they'll make another deep playoff run. They have a good shot of
Mhm.
making it to the Super Bowl again. Biggest issue that they're going to run into is the 49ers.
Yeah,
They're the biggest team to overcome this season. I mean,
definitely.
the way that they're playing, nothing looks close. They may end up going pretty deep in this regular season undefeated.
Yeah. And if it does come down to the end again where the 49ers are playing the Eagles, the 49ers are going to be super motivated just with the fact the way that the last game ended where it was just absolute destruction. So they're going to be definitely really motivated to destroy the Eagles.
Definitely. They got some fire going into this season.
Got some fire in their belly.
Absolutely. I think they took the bus or they drove there,
They
one or the
drove
other.
there. Well, I mean, you kind of have to when you're in San Francisco, right? You got to take that public transportation.
It's the only way to get around.
Oh man. One thing I do want to talk about with the Eagles, though, we get a lot of controversy for what people are calling the tush push. Now it's pretty much 92% effectiveness. It's one of the most effective plays, if not the most effective play in the NFL. That quarterback sneak. A lot of people hate it. A lot of people want it to be gone just because of how effective it is, and they think it's cheating. But three different teams Three different teams tried it in week 4. It was the Patriots, the Chargers, and the Giants. They all attempted the quarterback
Yep.
sneak with their version of the tush push, and they all three failed. So they showed
Yes.
it's not a guaranteed thing. Obviously, it's led by the offensive line, and I feel like we have one of the best offensive lines led by our captain Jason Kelsey.
Yep. Absolutely. It's dangerous too. The Giants
Hmm.
tried it on fourth and a full 1 yard. Um, wasn't inches or a foot. It was short. It was a full yard.
Hmm.
And we had two of our starters get injured from it.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, it shows that the Eagles know what they're doing with it. I am kind of bummed out that they didn't end up running that play when they got close to the end zone
Yeah.
because I had Jalen Hurts for a touchdown. I was kind of banking on a tush push into the end zone at one point during
Right.
that game, which did not happen. But that's all right. It was a fun game to watch anyway.
Definitely. It was definitely a fun one. And I think another name for the tush pushes, people are calling it the brotherly shove. I prefer that the brotherly shove.
I
We'll
like it.
call it that.
No, I like it.
What you got?
Oh man.
What do you got for your Giants? I know you have a lot to unpack. We were texting back and forth when you were watching the game. I know you have a lot of frustration, as you guys should. So what do you have for me?
I think most of the anger is gone at this point. It's just kind of an acceptance and disappointment of our team. That may be the last Giants game that I watched this season, to be
Really?
completely honest. It's not a matter of being a fair weather fan. I mean, if the Giants players have no passion to play, why should the
Mhm.
fans have any passion to watch?
Right.
Um, After so much hype in the offseason, bringing in all the new talent, we're somehow a way worse football team than last season. I mean, we had one of the worst rosters last season, and we somehow played with heart and effort, and it led to the playoffs and a playoff win.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even mind losing. I just want the team to be competitive and to play with a level of competence. All the energy that we had is gone. All the excitement is gone. There's no confidence left in the fans, or it looks like in the players. They don't play with any confidence.
Yeah.
The coaching is bad. The defense can't tackle. The offensive line is the worst in football. Daniel Jones, I mean, not deserving of all the team's criticism.
Hmm.
He's just not playing well either. The rare times that the offensive line holds up and he has the opportunity to make a play, he doesn't. He makes bad reads. He misses open receivers. Um, I mean, part of it's understandable. He gets hit on almost every play. I'm sure he's super rattled, and I mean, you're just not going to play well in that condition.
Yeah.
It's not an excuse though for some of those interceptions he was throwing.
Right.
I mean, he has more interceptions already this season than he had in the entirety of last season.
Yeah.
Um, we're last in points scored, third last in points allowed. We're the worst graded team according to Pro Football Focus, and the season schedule doesn't get any easier.
No. Especially in
Uh,
such a tough division as well, with the Cowboys, the Eagles, and the Commanders at this point.
exactly. Going into the season, the Commanders on the schedule look like two teams we could cross off easily as wins. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. In my opinion, going into the season, I saw us as an 8 to 10 win team with all the talent we brought in. Daniel Jones was only going to get better. We have Barkley. Our offensive line was getting padded. We're bringing in a lot of defensive players,
Hmm.
speedsters on our wide receiver roster. Right now, I mean, I'm going to be surprised if we end up with 5 wins this season. And to be completely honest, if this season keeps going this way for us, Saquon should probably be traded to a team that has the chance to make the playoffs and to win. So his talent isn't wasted during his limited amount of time remaining in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, he's obviously our best player. He's one of the best players in the NFL. He shouldn't be, putting all that effort forward, into a team that's going to end up with, maybe 3, 4, 5 wins for the season. A good example would be the Browns. They're missing Chubb this season. They're a good team. They could definitely make do with someone like Saquon Barkley.
I mean, that would be the first time a Giant goes to the Browns, right?
No, no, it's not. I mean, we've gotten rid of a couple of players, some that were underperforming. I started
Hmm.
performing well. Ingram for the Jacksonville Jaguars, for example. Kadarius Toney. I mean, we're happy not having him anymore. But really, Saquon will, he may end up getting traded this season. I wouldn't be surprised at all,
Oh,
and I wouldn't be that upset, to be honest.
yeah. You think it would be this midseason they would potentially trade him?
Definitely, definitely. I mean, he's what 28 years old now. He's got
Hmm.
maybe a couple years left
Yeah.
of playing him. So why not? Send him
Especially
to
if
a
he's not
team that
happy with the franchise, like the fact that he didn't get that huge contract that he wanted. They only franchise tagged him, and they give Jones massive contract, which I mean at this point it's looking like they severely overpaid for him. Like
yeah,
I wouldn't see why he wouldn't stay. What would be the reason to stay?
there would be no reason. I wouldn't
Yeah.
blame him. I think most Giants fans would understand, and I'd be rooting for him to whatever team he
Hmm.
ends up on.
Hmm.
Be rooting for his success. So I'm kind of expecting it at this point if the season keeps going this way. The
Yeah.
schedule, like I said, it doesn't get any easier, man. We got to play the Eagles twice,
Yeah.
Cowboys again. We have to play next week the Dolphins on the road. Week after that, the Bills.
Eesh.
It doesn't get easier, man.
And there's definitely some disconnection between it looks like Dayball and Jones. I don't know if you saw that. I'm sure you saw that highlight where Dayball was just yelling at Jones, just what the hell were you doing? What the hell were you thinking? You can see a lot of frustration on pretty much everyone on that Giants franchise right now. Like, it doesn't seem like it's anyone's happy there.
No, not happy, and they're they're playing with like no heart.
Hmm.
Last year there was an urgency with the way they were playing. They
Hmm.
played with purpose, for a reason. They believed in the team. They haven't played well really at all this season.
Yeah.
The two quarters against the Cardinals are an oddity. The rest of the 14 quarters they've played, I think they've scored 15 points, something
Hmm.
something like that,
Hmm.
which is unbelievable. And they've allowed God knows how many points. So
Yeah.
at this point in the season, I mean, I'm still a fan. I'll always be a fan. But when a team's playing this bad, it gives the fans no reason to watch. Like,
Yeah.
I feel bad for the Giants fans that still have home game tickets that they need to go watch.
Yeah. It's definitely been a tough outing at home for them. I mean, just to start the first game against the Cowboys definitely left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. And hopefully you guys can turn it around. It doesn't sound like it's gonna likely to happen, but it's the Giants. They're a great franchise. They are definitely one of the top teams. Hopefully something gets moved around, something changes there where they're back in contention.
Something needs to change, definitely. And people have been already throwing up the idea of firing Dayball, which
Mm,
I don't think is what's needed.
mhm.
Maybe the special teams coach, you could argue, needs to get fired. The offensive line, like, should be ashamed of themselves. They should all be fired, except for Andrew Thomas, our left tackle, and maybe our rookie, John Michael Schmitz. The rest
Yeah.
of them, it's embarrassing. I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't mind if we were losing
Mhm.
all these games. It's the way we're losing. We're not
Yeah.
competitive. I mean, it's just it's embarrassing to be a Giants fan right now.
Well, luckily, you have two other New York teams that you can root for. So you got that going for you, and
Exactly.
you get to the home state Cardinals. So as an Eagles fan, we'll always welcome you as well. So if you wanted to come on, join us over here, come on, bud.
I
Or maybe don't.
appreciate I
Maybe
appreciate
don't
the
bring some
invite.
of that bad luck, that bad juju. Maybe just keep rooting for those New York teams, or even if you want to root for the Cowboys. Go on ahead.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will help you guys get past that postseason a little easier.
uh, any help would be appreciated. A little brotherly shove, brotherly love.
Well, that's about all I have for the Giants. Let's get into Thursday night's predictions. So we have
Thursday
the
night.
Bears
Hmm.
0-4 heading over to Washington to play the 2-2 Commanders. A couple of numbers here. Bears 18.75 points per game right now. Commanders 22.25 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
Bears allowing 34.3 points per game. Commanders 30 points per game. So neither of these are really great teams.
Hmm.
Um, it's not as bad as the Bears and Broncos, but I don't know who will be tuning into this one. I'll try to catch it if I can.
It's definitely one of those Thursday night games from last year where they were all just extremely disappointing. Fortunately, the Bears seem to be the worst team. I know you would beg to differ and say the Giants are, but definitely the Bears are the worst team in the NFL right now. Like you said, they're 0-4. They've just not been able to win a single game. Fortunately, it's not looking really great for that for another historic franchise as well.
Yeah, not looking good at all. And I will point out the way that they're losing.
Hmm.
They're scoring points. They're scoring
Yeah.
touchdowns every game. Justin Fields, a lot of terrible, terrible reads.
Hmm.
Pocket awareness is awful. They have a lot of issues with their team. Really bad defensive play. But Commanders have issues too. Sam Howell, I think he's been sacked 24 times
Hmm.
so far. Defense also not performing great. Let me touch on the Bears a little bit here.
Okay.
Um, Let me run some numbers by you. So, offense last week against the Broncos, they got some traction going. The
Hmm.
run game, 5.5 yards per carry for a total of 171 yards rushing. Passing game also looking good, 335 yards in the air, 4 touchdowns. DJ Moore, he was playing lights out, man.
Dude.
8 catches, 131 yards, and a touchdown. Unfortunately, Bears couldn't hold on to a 21-point lead. You had the fumble by Fields turning into a scoop and score by Denver, and then the interception at the end of the game to kind of seal a deal. Those contributed to the loss. As well as that, defense collapsed in the second half. And the defense, they're 31st in the NFL in points allowed. Just terrible right now.
Yeah. Something with I like to touch on the Commanders. Well, I know they would definitely love to bounce back after this division loss with the Eagles. Now they are 2-2. If they're able to pull this off and beat the Bears, they'd be 3-2. I feel like they're going to be highly motivated coming to this game, especially with the Cowboys facing the 49ers next week, who also are 3-1. So potentially, if they lose, go 3-2, they'll be tied right there with the Commanders. I mean, that the Commanders will still be lower just because of that division loss, but I mean that would not look bad if both the Commanders and the Cowboys both 3-2. So they're definitely going to come highly motivated. They did show some resurgence. They showed that they are a contender against the top Eagles team, but again, like I've said before, somehow the Commanders always find a way to win against the Eagles. They know how to play. I'm thinking they're going to continue some of this momentum and just carry on. It's going to be a pretty high scoring game. Like you said, both defenses are just they're not great. It's going to be one of those Thursday night football games that it's going to be hard to look away from because it's a train wreck.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. A train wreck of a game. I'm gonna try to catch it if I can. I know I'm working kind of late. I might not be able to catch most of it, but I'm sure you'll be letting me know how it's going.
I'll send you some text messages here and there. Just keeping you aware because I'm sure you're gonna want to know how the Commanders are doing in the division.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, if there's a game that the Bears could pull off a win, I think it would be against the Commanders. I just think the Commanders are just a better team on paper, and watching them, they're just better, man. So I mean, going into this game, I'd obviously be in favor of the Commanders.
Yeah, and their defense isn't completely horrible. They were able to sack Wilson 7 times the last game, and then they even sacked Jalen Hurts 3 times against a really strong offensive line with the Eagles. So they show some sparks of greatness here and there. So as long as they're able to get something rolling and just be consistent, is pretty much what they need is just consistency from both sides of the field.
Yes, exactly. So that leads us into your picks, your money line, your props coming into Thursday night football game.
All right. So these are my 5 picks for the Thursday night football game. I feel like these are all pretty much going to hit. I'm pretty confident in this. So we'll start off with my money line. I'm gonna go with Commanders minus 5.5. Look at them. Look for them to be just a little bit extra motivated to bounce back and just they looked really good against the Eagles. Bears are the worst team in the league right now. I'm gonna take the Commanders minus 5.5. Next, I'm gonna take Howell to throw over 1.5 touchdowns. The Bears defense has been lackluster. They've been heavily outscored. Pretty much every game that the Bears have been in has been a high scoring game. I look for Howell to easily throw over 2 touchdowns. Next, I'm going to take Brian Robinson anytime touchdown. He's gotten he's in the last 4 games. He's gotten a touchdown each game. So he's one of their main offensive weapons. He's absolutely killing the run game for them. So I definitely see that hitting. Next is DJ Moore, like he talked about. DJ Moore, I have him over receiving 48.5. He's the top offensive weapon for the Bears. He seems like he's kind of the only weapon at this point, especially with Claypool out. He's not a big name. He hasn't done a lot for them, but I don't see anyone else on the Bears to do anything. And then last time I have the over. I'm gonna take the over 45. Both teams have been struggling on defense. I definitely think the over is going to hit here.
Awesome. They all sound like pretty good picks. I have a couple that are similar.
Okay.
So these are my 5 picks going into Thursday night football. I'm taking the Commanders money line. The Bears had some good moments of play by Moore, Kmet, and Herbert against the Broncos. but the Broncos are rated last in points allowed this season. I don't see them holding up to the Commanders, who are just a better team than the Bears right now.
Hmm.
DJ Moore, 40 plus receiving yards. He's only had one game with less than 40 yards, and going up against the Commanders, who are 29th in points allowed, I see 40 yards as being the bare minimum that he'll record Thursday night. Terry McLaurin, over 4.5 receptions. He's only had one game this season where he's had less than 5 receptions. I see him getting a lot of touches tomorrow against the terrible Bears defense. Brian Robinson, 40 plus yards. This is an easy and safe prop. He averages 55 yards a game and not yet having a game below 40 yards. Lastly, I have Justin Fields, 25 rushing yards. This one's a no brainer. And if there's one thing that Fields is good at, it's running the football. This is another easy pick to help pad your parlay.
Well, we got two pretty good parlays. We'll see how we go so far. Last week's was a little rough. Definitely not what we expected, but this seems like a on paper really straightforward game. I'd say.
I would say, like you mentioned earlier, it's going to be a lot of offense happening in this game and not a lot of defense.
I mean, that's all we can hope for as NFL fans, just high scoring games. I mean, it's definitely going to be one that you're going to have in the background and just watch and see. I mean, we don't really care about these two teams, a little bit about the Commanders just because they're in the same division, but at the end of the day, it's going to be another just fun football game that we get to watch.
I'm all about it.
Well, I think that wraps up our week 5 start for week 5. So we're definitely going to be having a couple episodes come out later on throughout the week. We'll later talk about how the Thursday night football game went and then what our picks will be for Sunday night. Do you have any parting words for us, Jacob?
No, we'll touch on our Thursday parlays, the Thursday night game, and then talk about our Sunday picks, Sunday night and Monday football. That'll be coming out on Saturday.
Yep. Well, thank you everyone for joining. This was the Spitball Sports Show. My name is Brian. He is Jacob. Thank you guys. Have a great day.